And you see these hillbilly ass motherfuckers. I'ma say it. I say it to y'all. I say it to y'all. I'll even at you. You want me to at you? I'll at you. So these motherfuckers, man, these kids, I don't know what grade they was in. But their float was a float of Hillary Clinton in handcuffs, and Trump winning the presidency.
Welcome to a Modern Man podcast. I'm your host, JD Farrell. That was Breeana Danell. You know Bree. Get to know Bree very well, the host of a Modern Woman podcast. And we're going to be doing a lot of work together over the next few months, few years, hopefully in the future. But I have her on and we talk about the conversation that has been unable to be had between Republicans, Democrat, family members, workplace, co-workers, whatever you want to say. Just the fact that we just can't have a conversation about anything these days. And maybe some of the friends and people that we've lost because of this. But I'm really excited. I interviewed Ryan Taylor. So excited for you to hear his interview. And I just learned so much from talking to him. It's someone who completely identifies in a different party, different upbringing, different race. But yet we identify exactly the same, we're parallel on the exact same policies and same views on how we want the country to be viewed and the goals for the country. So I learned a lot from him just by seeing all the similarities between the two of us. So I really hope you enjoy that. And of course, enjoy Bree. She's going to be with me twice a month going forward. So enjoy Modern Man Podcast. We're presented to you by a Modern Podcast Network. Today, we're having a conversation which in the past couple of years in the political climate, I feel like has been lost. People just want to debate. They want to get on CNN, First Take, and just have an argument where it's red versus blue, Republican versus Democrat. And these are political parties, ideologies that have been established almost 200 years ago. And I honestly think that when it comes down to policy, when it comes down to the issues, we agree more than we disagree. And we're kind of blinded by these parties. So today I'm happy to be joined by Ryan Taylor. How are you doing, Ryan?
Doing good, man.
Okay. All right. So I want to start by beginning personally. Are you registered Republican, Democrat? How do you identify?
Yeah, I am registered as a Republican to vote, yeah.
All right. And give the listeners a little background. Where are you born? Kind of where you grew up?
Yeah, so I grew up all around Oklahoma City area. Right now I'm living down in Holdenville, which is an hour and a half in the middle of nowhere outside of Oklahoma City. Just hanging out.
Okay. And about your parents, I'll say, what was your socioeconomic status growing up and how do your parents identify?
Yeah, so I would say definitely probably in the lower mid class. My dad was in construction forever. My mom just did kind of accounting. My parents are now separated for like 11 years or something like that. And they are both registered as Republicans as well.
Okay. And would you say you're pretty Christian, pretty anti-religious, or how do you identify that way?
Yeah, I definitely identify as a Christian.
Okay. All right. And that's just a little background. Now we're going to dive into a little bit of the policies and kind of see your point of view on those. And we're going to start with minimum wage. Do you agree, don't agree with minimum wage being raised?
I do not agree with minimum wage being raised to $15 an hour. I could definitely see being brought up a little bit. There's always room for debate on where that could be, and I'm not any person that says this is where it should be, but I believe that $15 would be just way too high for the minimum wage.
See, and I love what you just said right there, because that's the take I always say. I think part of the problem we have is that policymakers, these lawmakers, like, I don't know what should be the actual number or what should be. I think that the people honestly making these laws are kind of the problem. I think people with PhDs, people that study this for a living, should be more in charge of
just want to get that off the bat, should be the ones in charge of making the laws. Yes, we can have opinions. Yes, we can have these views, but my whole opinion is I don't really know. I can say I think I know, but I don't know. And
exactly.
so, yeah, I like that you said that.
For
But
sure.
giving that kind of the issue, which when I still went to college in Oklahoma, lived here the first time, I went to a job and they wanted to drug test and then offer the job for $8 an hour for a part-time job. And to where I think maybe like minimum wage, we've always kind of seen minimum wage as like the floor, and that employers are gonna hire and maybe pay above the floor. But I don't think that employers will. And I don't think it also hurts employers to pay a little more. And to where raising it to maybe a 15 or so, I think that minimum wage should be a livable wage, kind of my argument to raising it high. And the other effects, not only would it allow more people to just have one job, but then maybe that single parent or both parents that are working maybe then have more time to spend with kids at home, so then kids aren't off doing more things, they're not more in poverty with one job. And to where you see the other effects of just kind of slightly raising minimum wage to where it wouldn't hurt the employers that much. That's kind of my take on that.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think that those big, I worked for AT&T for a little bit. They're $7 billion company. Those companies definitely are able to do more than that.
Yeah.
My kind of opinion on the livable wage is minimum wage equals minimal skills.
Yeah.
It's not this minimum wage should be for like high school, college kids that are out just trying to make some spending money, doing something like that, not grown people that are trying to provide for their families, in my opinion, just specifically for that.
Yeah. And I get that, but it's more even Walmart. I guess Walmart now pays a little bit more, but unfortunately, they're like the biggest employer in our whole country, and they employ parents to kids, to where there are some kids that are paying and working like 40 hours to help their family. But I think even if that kid's making $15 an hour, but only 15 hours a week, it's not too much, but I don't think that the employers are going to pay high above the minimum wage if they don't have to. I think if you give them the federal guideline that this is how much they have to pay, I don't think they're willing to pay or even train workers. And maybe if you force them to pay them a little more, maybe they're willing to train the workers for a higher skill position rather than having high turnover, knowing that, okay, I'm only paying them $9 an hour.
Yeah, definitely. I think that they definitely should be able to pay them more, especially if they're going to keep them long term. My thought process is if they keep paying them more and more, though, like these high school and college kids that don't necessarily have all the skills, they don't.
Just want to say sorry. Ryan was such a champ. We had a little technical audio difficulties with the little Wi-Fi connection. I had a little storm outage, and then he had a little spotty connection, but we got it figured out. We reconvened and picked back up our conversation. So sorry about the little exit on one part of the interview, but we get right back into it. So enjoy.
What's up, man?
What's up, man? Can you hear me?
No.
All right, we're doing this again.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
We're good. Yeah, we're good. I can.
All right, good deal.
All right, now we're about to tackle 3 issues, and I want you to talk about each one separately. And it's going to be gay marriage, abortion, and the death penalty. And I guess let's start by first talking, what are your takes on gay marriage? Are you for, against?
I'm pro, do whatever the hell you want.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
to an extent, yeah.
Yeah.
I knew what you meant. But yeah,
Gotcha.
there are some lawmakers, what are they called, representatives, I don't know, officials that were trying to repeal gay marriage. I'm just like, why are we trying to do that? Like, just let them be, let people live their life.
Yeah, for sure.
And what about abortion? I know, having a Christian background, and I grew up Christian, I understand. I used to think it was complete murder too, but what are your takes on abortion?
Yeah, so anytime I try to discuss anything that has any significance with social issues or politics. I try to take my religious views completely out of it, just because if I say, oh, that's a sin, someone that doesn't believe the same way I do is like, okay, that doesn't mean anything to me, you know? So although I believe abortion, and I mean, you know, I believe that it is murder. I believe that it's life begins at conception. I don't put that based on my religious views. I put that based off of that I feel that it's alive. That if you, I learned this a couple of years ago, and I thought it was fascinating to me, that if you kill, like if someone murders a pregnant woman, you know, whatever bad guy murders a pregnant woman, it's considered a double homicide. If she knows she was pregnant or not, it is considered a double homicide at that point.
Yeah.
And I thought that kind of shaped the way that went for me.
And I agree with that. Yeah, killing a pregnant woman, double homicide. But even still, removing your religious belief, you still think birth starts at conception and against abortion?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. My issue on that, and that's coming from us both being men, I know I'll take the precautions, I can do what I want, but I just don't think I have a say in a woman's body. That's why my take on that issue, and that's where I always stand on that issue, is it's me telling, so you know what I mean, someone I have no control over, a complete opposite gender of me, what to do with her body and her menstrual, like, you know, and that's just my vote on that one. And that's where I'll stand on that.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I mean, I have a hard time saying this is what you can do, this is what you cannot do to another person. I don't care who you are. I can't sit there and tell someone this is exactly how you should do it.
Yeah.
I'm not. I call myself a Christian and everything, but I'm not out there, you know, with my Bible thumping people in the head with it, saying, "Here, you have to do this." You know,
Yeah.
You guys are going to do what you want to do. I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
Okay. So I guess you're pretty much saying, yes, you're against it, but if it passes in Congress and the laws change and you're allowed, yes, you can do it, but it's just not okay with me, kind of your mentality.
Yeah, like I wouldn't, if I'm in a very serious relationship right now. We've been together a little over 3 years.
Congrats.
Thank you. If she were to get an abortion at some point, which, I mean, we've had conversations, it's not going to happen and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But if it were to happen, it would be, for me, it would be, I would no longer be in that relationship. Both of my aunts actually have had abortions, and I mean, it doesn't change the way I look at them. It's, you know, they were teenagers, you know, whatever, and coaxed by my grandma, which is a completely different conversation. But you know, I mean, it doesn't make me look at them any different. I just don't believe that it's the right thing to do.
Speaking of this, are your aunts conservative, both of them? Or Republican?
I would say that my aunts they may line up a little bit more conservative, but neither of them really identify with a real political party. I don't think either of them have voted the last 2 times, just because they don't really care, which I disagree with, but you know, that's besides the point.
But I'm just interested now, and when did they tell you that they had an abortion? I don't know how close in age are you with your aunts?
Yeah, so my oldest aunt, I think, is going to turn, I think she turns 42 this year. Okay. And she was one. My mom is the middle child, and then my younger aunt just turned 35 in February. So, and I had learned about them having the abortions, I think, just this past summer.
Oh, recently. I think. Okay. All right.
Yeah, very recently. Yeah.
That feels like a very emotional conversation, you know, to have with your nephew.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm real close with my entire family. We all have conversations that if other people outside of the family looked at, it'd be like, "What are you guys talking about?" It's it's a different kind of family dynamic over here.
Okay, yeah, but then I'll go into, I guess, the legal kind of putting it on the ballot. If a congressperson, are you then for someone who would choose to like turn over abortion? Like, is that if a politician put that on his list of things that he wants to try and like repeal, is that a voting issue that you're positive and like for? Do you understand what I'm asking? I know I'm not
Yeah,
articulating myself right.
no, yeah, you're good. I think I know what you're trying to say. Yeah, I would say that I would probably vote for the person and probably vote for the issue.
Yeah.
But I also, in the back of my mind, I sit here and I think that it shouldn't be a political issue. I don't
Okay.
feel like, especially.
I mean, say we have two Republican candidates and you're choosing the best
Yeah.
one. Are you clinging to the one who has that on his platform or the one who ignores it? Kind of. Are you? That's what I guess what I'm asking then.
Yeah, I mean, naturally, every other topic, goes into that and everything. But if they're all pretty equal, then I'll probably lean more towards the dude that cares about the abortion a little bit more.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you were going to go the other way, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that I feel that it's wrong and everything, but and I feel like I
For
can't
the
tell.
abortion. Sorry. Sorry, for the abortion. We were thinking on the same page. Sorry. Well,
Oh, okay,
I was thinking,
yeah.
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 Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
no, yeah. No, you're good, man.
All right. And the last one now, and this topic is death penalty. What are your takes on the death penalty?
Yeah, man, death penalty, it has to be, for me at least, it has to be a crime fitting to get something similar to that. Obviously, murder, first degree especially.
Even a single murder, one person murdering one person premeditated.
Yeah, see, there's always just
I
so
know
many
that.
other things that come into it, and then all kinds of stuff.
I guess, is it a voting issue for you? I guess that's what I'm asking. Are you, again, the two candidates, are you with the candidate who wants to institute the death penalty, or are you more with the candidate who doesn't want to? And they're both Republican.
both, yeah. So I would definitely probably say more for it, if for the voting issue. I would do that just because life in prison is more of a drain on that person and more of a drain on spending tax dollars to keep people in prison. And if I ever did something that gruesome to get myself life in prison, I would rather die personally. And that's kind of my little stance on that. Just because I'm not doing anything anyway. I'm just gonna sit there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely. It's crazy that the same prison, jail, whatever system for those people who committed murder and life in prison is the same person who, I don't know,
Tax fraud. Yeah, I mean,
tax fraud. Yeah, selling cocaine. You know what I mean? And those are the
exactly.
those should not be the same type of rehab facilities that we put people in. Like,
no, not at all.
that's a whole different story. That, again, I don't have enough education on the issue to talk about.
100%. I'm the same way right here.
All right. So now we're going on. This is definitely the kind of liberal versus conservative clash and government regulations. And I used to be very against, I used to always think, the free market's better, private enterprise is always better. And in a lot of instances, I think private is better.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, private, you want to squeeze as much, and it's always about profit margins. And so how do you feel about, this is an issue that I don't even think has been talked about, but I'm just asking kind of from your point of view, how does this make you feel if I think, like, I want us to promote a better image of America. And I know we all have our choice to eat wherever we want, but the fact, not that we should tax fast food chains higher, but I think we should give maybe tax breaks to fresh produce and fresh food, because kind of my growing up, like, I'm used to, eating fast food 5-6 times a week. And before, when I would live here before, I counted and I would eat 30 McDonald's burgers on a weekly basis, like from a McDouble to like late night and all this. And it's just because it's so much easier and so much, like, so I don't want to tax them higher for making that food. It's your option, but maybe give a tax break to people who do provide healthier options, so our country is healthier. So, we don't have more kids, because I was in the child obesity range and diabetes, and just because you were wanting our country to do better for everyone. How do you feel about things like that?
Yeah, that's like you were saying, it's not something I've ever really even thought of before. But that actually, I could see myself leaning towards something like that more. in college right now. I'm a health and sports science major. So
Okay.
I'm definitely for limiting the child obesity rate, trying to make the country as a whole more healthy and everything. And if more people start making their own companies and getting into doing the healthy food rather than, hey, let's open another McDonald's here.
Yeah.
I think that would definitely help a lot more. It would help them want to open their stores and everything with the extra
Yeah.
tax breaks and everything. Exactly.
Awesome. Love that.
Yeah.
And I know, do you have any family friends in the oil industry right now? Or
Yes. I my dad worked in there for a little bit a long time ago. He did work lives on a cattle ranch right now. We call him my uncle. He's just my dad's friend. He's worked for Chesapeake forever.
Okay.
My grandma before she retired worked for Devon. I mean, it's been it's been a big deal for my family, especially.
And have they been affected negatively since the downturn in the oil, or have they been pretty okay since the whole change?
Yeah. So, well, my grandma's retired, so I mean that that doesn't affect her anymore. My dad's friend, he as far as I haven't really talked to him a whole lot. As far as I know, he wasn't one of the guys that was sitting out there on the oil wells. He was higher up, and so I think he's still surviving. At least he's not going terrible right now.
Okay. All right. So you weren't hit too negatively.
No.
So my thing with the oil industry, I don't know if you do have other, like maybe friends whose family were, and I understand it does suck. And anyone's livelihood, whatever it is, that's why I'm not one of those guys. If I get, offended by something, I'm not running to HR, because I don't like to affect anyone's livelihood. Everyone has to provide, especially if you have a family, even just a single person.
For sure.
Just like with coal, when gold mining was a thing back in, the 1800s, all these industries, steel was bigger. I feel like oil, we're eventually going to run out of it. It's a natural resource. So I think it does suck that people are losing their jobs, and those things do, but they're hurting a small amount of people compared to having to come up with new energy sources, because eventually we're going to have to go to something else. So we have to be moving towards new energy. I don't know. How are your feelings towards that and the whole pretty much oil industry and having to move forward towards a new renewable energy source?
Yeah. So you said it. Oil is going to run out. I'm not a geologist. I can't tell you when it's going to happen. I can't tell you how it's going to happen. I can't tell you any of that. But I know it's going to, because there's only so much of it. That we do have to move ourselves towards a new renewable energy source.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I don't know how we can come up with that. I don't think that it can be electric. Yeah. That's for sure. There's no way that could happen. Wind, I've seen, living out here in Oklahoma, I've seen all of the wind turbines. I've seen the gas leaks from them because there's an engine in there just propelling those things. So that's not working. I think water power, I think that could be something with all the streams moving and everything. I think that if we could do something with that, that'd help a lot more. I don't know myself. I'm not an energy expert or anything like that. I don't know how. I couldn't tell you how we should move from it. But I think right now we have to keep using the oil that we have so that we can keep everything up and running while we are trying to actively find something else that we can keep going off of.
Okay. And now moving on, this might be a hot button issue. We're moving. Oh, wait, first, let's go back. So how do you feel about climate change?
Climate change has kind of been I haven't read a whole lot about it. I haven't studied it too much.
Yeah.
Kind of the common sense part of my brain kicks in, and I read in school about the ice age, when basically the entire world was frozen, and then it heats up, and then it cools down again, and then it heats back up. So I think we're just kind of going back and forth through that thing. But like I said, I haven't read too much up on it, but I'm not extremely worried about it myself.
See, I just want everyone to know, halfway through this podcast, we're completely two different people, and I feel like we are saying the exact same things out of each other's mouths consistently. But all right, now moving on, talking about immigration. Again, I don't think we should just let anyone run through and loose in the country because, taxes are a thing. You pay taxes to
Yes.
provide services for people. And yes, but at the same time, America was built on immigration. If people are coming and especially fleeing for asylum, I think there should be a path to citizenship. And of course, if you come to the country fleeing from something and you don't get in trouble when you're in the country, like, no major problems, you pay your dues. I'm okay with the path to citizenship. But of course, everyone has to be documented and taken care of. And that's just how a country works. It's better for everyone. It's better for them. Then they are paying taxes and that helps provide more services to the community they are living in and yada, yada. So how are your
For sure.
feelings?
Yeah, so I definitely feel like there is, just my perspective here, there is a somewhat path to citizenship. I definitely think that it's extremely difficult and that it could be taken back a little bit easier.
Oh, wow.
I know, well, some of the tests that have been
I've heard the test.
like released and everything. My little brother who's in 8th grade right now could not pass that test that you're supposed to be able to know by the time you get out of middle school.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think if I took that test right now, I feel like I'd do pretty well on it. But I mean, there's a couple years ago, probably not. There's more to being an American than knowing the past. There's the people that are here we're the most diverse country in the entire world. It's
Reach.
Yes, people are gonna come here, and people should want to come here. I mean, this could be the greatest country in the world. I mean, there's obviously there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and there's just way too much divide for me to probably say that it is the best country in the world right now. But I mean, immigration is not a bad thing as long as people are coming over and doing it the right way. I do have a problem with illegal immigration, people coming in, being undocumented, coming in, I'm not gonna say stealing all the jobs because that's not an actual thing that happens if you're not documented. But
that's what and they don't speak English. What job? I tell people, what job are they taking from you? They can't even speak English, like not talking shit or anything, but just if that's the job that you want, get that job. You can have it.
Exactly. And I do think that people that are saying that should probably go out and try to, do those jobs, the manual labor that they're doing, especially because, I mean, they're tougher than me, the people that are out there. I mean, I wouldn't want to do it for sure.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, I don't have a problem with immigration. I think that immigration is completely fine. I have a problem with illegal immigration, just not come because we do have the path to citizenship, even though it's difficult. That's kind of my issue, is people that are bypassing that.
Okay. And you're hoping they ease the rules, the way to become a citizen. They hope they make that way a little easier.
Yeah, I mean that can always be easier. I know my one of my mom's cousins, actually, she is in her early 30s, I think. She married a man a couple years ago that immigrated here from Mexico, and he had to pay like $10,000 or something like that to get through all the court fees, get through everything like that. And yeah, that's just a lot of money and everything. But he did it, it was props to him, and he's successful now. So
I've been loving what you've been talking a lot about, just the values and your vision of America. And that's exactly same with me. Like, I know we're not the greatest now, but yeah, we have the opportunity and we have the resources. Like, we have every opportunity. So
yeah.
We're finishing up. I first want you to tell me, what is then your vision of, America? Like, how do you envision it? I don't know if I'm phrasing that question right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm a huge sports guy. I love, a huge baseball fan. Actually, I played baseball for 15 years. Oh. I believe, yeah, baseball is America's pastime. I want.
Yeah, it's football now. Come on, man.
I mean, yeah, football is definitely the game of now and probably of the future. But 1950s, you couldn't beat a baseball game and a hot dog.
Yeah.
I like, that's kind of my thinking is, just mom and pop shops, the going to the baseball games, football games, the sports games, having kind of living in the suburbs type deal. I mean, that's always kind of what I've been done until I moved way out into BFE, like I was talking about the other day. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I don't know how to describe it too well. I'm not.
You're giving good imagery. I'm picturing, yeah, I'm getting a very good mental image of what you're describing, at least. I hope they are.
Yeah. I mean, I've lived in a small town most of my, I don't know, I wouldn't I've lived in 2 small towns and have lived around small towns my entire life. And I feel like that's one of the best ways to live. Although I do not want to stay there. I'm coming as soon as I make enough money to buy my own house in the city. I'm going to move back up here to Oklahoma City. But I like the community togetherness down there.
And I love the community. And that's what I wish we had more of, like just more, I don't know, community with each other. And that's almost what I don't like as much. Because I grew up kind of in the suburbs. And then when I got to move in the city, it was like, you're glued to your neighbors, which yes, you want space, but you actually get to know them and see them. And like, if you hang out on your front lawn in the suburbs, like my friend in Edmond, and it's like, you're considered trashy if we want to sit on our front yard and have a beer, but you pay for your lawn, like it's your yard, but it's just that's like the view of we want to just be pristine. We want to pay for it, but don't actually touch it. And I wish we were just more in touch with each other and cared about each other. I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely, you can learn a lot from small towns, especially living in one. Although a lot of them have pretty outdated views because, it's all 80-year-olds that are living there. There's definitely a sense of, I sit out on my front porch with my dad and grandpa and everything, and they tell me every single person that's driving by, we know everyone.
Right. And that's even why I'm not big on the like fast food, like getting addicted. Like we need to support our small businesses, like help us, like don't just help the giant corporations get more and more money. Like, help the community, And closing on this, like your friends, the people you associate with them, I'm assuming they share a lot of your views, but how closely aligned with you? Because you are coming off very moderate to progressive. Like I definitely would, it feels like by views, you're way more libertarian. Just, I do have some issues, but I'm not too stuck on the right or the left. But how do your friends stack up? Stack up?
I would say, I'm not trying to call out any of my friends or anything.
No one specifically. Yeah, the group as a whole. Don't.
Oh
yeah.
No.
I'm not. Yeah.
A lot of my friends are less educated about all of the topics.
Okay.
They are, like I said, small town. They're always Republican. Doing all that. They're posting, Donald Trump 2024. And while I think that he was a bad person, I mean, he did great for the economy. I'm not sitting here like, let's get him back in there. If he ran again and, whatever, I might vote for him. But they have very, very right-wing ideals. And it's a little much sometimes for me when I'm hanging out with them, just because they're just not as educated about different types of stuff.
So you said, I guess it gets you sometimes. Do you let that affect your views and change how you feel because of your friends and the people you surround yourself? You think
What do you mean?
Do you think, I guess I'm saying, do you think do you think long-term you will be an independent thinker still surrounding yourself with that type of friend group long-term?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I'm very intellectual. I like to challenge my mind. I like to do all kinds of stuff. And so every time they say something, I just kind of question it and say something to them. And
Really?
then no one really has any actual grounds or anything. They are just say the same 7 phrases you see about Republicans on Facebook every single day. And it's gets a little old. And so it's like they don't have an intelligent conversation. And so I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm not going to listen really to what you're having to say right now.
Yeah. Awesome, Ryan. I feel like, yeah, you're a great ally. Wherever you land on the voting ballot, I think you're an awesome dude, regardless of who you vote for. Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. Right back at you.
No problem. Thank you for talking to me too. Is there anything you want to leave? You want to say to anyone on your way out?
Nah, man, I don't know. I don't know who your audience is necessarily, so I don't know. Don't know anyone that actually has listened to the podcast before, except for maybe my cousin, who you guys have been going back and forth on Facebook. I know he said that he was probably going to listen when we talked, but who knows?
Oh, I didn't know that was your cousin. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's my cousin. He living up in way up there, moved up, yeah, the whole situation.
Yeah. All right. Well then.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good day, man.
You too, man.
I'm your host, JD Farrell, joined with Breeana Danell. How you doing, Bree?
Listen, I'm making it, but I'm here. We live in this bitch. Let's do this.
Yeah, we getting there. I'm good. We've been through some shit this week, but we gonna turn out all right.
We're gonna pull through. We'll just see how today goes and the rest of next week, but we can, but yeah.
Yeah. Today, what we're talking about can be kind of relate to anything. Today, we're just talking about a conversation, which, especially with our last president, not to get too much on him, but people just forgot having a conversation. They forgot that we don't hate each other just because you have different political parties. We don't have animosity. We just need to have a conversation. And that's the only way to really solve any problem, really to come to any resolution. And
yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of more of the point that I'm getting to now in my life, because just over the last 4 years, like, I can't sit here and say that I wasn't one of those people that it was like, if you're not with us, you're against us. But
yeah.
It's like there was certain people who were blatantly, racist and shit, and I can't get behind. But other than that, I feel like there is a lot of things that if we could just sit down and talk about it to have a better understanding, maybe we might learn something. But I don't know. But I'm down to kind of see what other people have to say and how they feel. Like, let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna start with that. Okay, when you sit down, are you willing to have a conversation with the racists? Are you gonna sit down? Are you willing to listen to what they're willing to say?
Oh, fuck me. It's hard because for this, I think for our podcast or content and things like that, I think I would.
Yeah.
Now, if it was just every day and I was out at a restaurant maybe and I heard somebody spout off some racist shit, I don't think I have to be in the mindset of knowing that I'm going into a conversation, because if not, I completely, it's all bad. So I think if I had to sit down for this to do it, I would, yeah. But it would be a little harder for me in an everyday life situation, because that's something that I just do not tolerate.
Okay, if you see something racist in front of you, do you want to approach them like a teachable moment, or you react with more like checking them and put them in their place? How do you come at that?
It depends on the situation. You know what I'm saying? Because there's some people, maybe you're trying to make a joke that you might think it's funny, but it's actually hurtful. So it's like, wait a minute. Like, this is why this is hurtful. I'm okay as taking that as a teachable moment. But if you are going like, because, when some people get to a certain point when they're really angry or they're really mad and they just spew hate, there's no talking to that kind of person until or even when they do come down sometimes. So it really just depends on the situation. If you're somebody that I feel like I can teach, I'm happy to. But if you also want to get buck, we can get buck too. I'm cool with that.
That's smart. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Okay.
How do you handle it?
I mean, because I walk around with knowing, who I am and where I am in the world. I know I'm in America and that I'm, 6'2" big black dude. So in most situations, I act according, and I just know people are gonna do racist shit, and I just kind of almost accept it. And yeah, I don't know if
But
that's a good answer,
but is that why? Okay, here's like an honest conversation.
and
Do you think that? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say before I defend other people, I'll say that, but like myself, talk with me, I'm saying I just kind of let it
Let it
slide.
slide.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think it is that way because? Sorry, you might have to. Anyway, do you think it is that way because we do live in America? You are a freaking what 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" black man.
Yeah.
You think that's maybe why you have to hold your composure because you know that shit's gonna go left when it comes down to other things? Do you think that if it wasn't like that, that maybe you would get a little more, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's the same way why when black women feel like they can't win because either they take the oppression for people never picking them for shit, or they're the angry black woman. Like it's kind of
Mhm.
like you're always fighting the losing battle, and that's like the same thing with us. But at least I always say they have it so much worse because at least I'm a man, so I get that aspect where people are going to automatically give you the respect for being a man, where women are still fighting for that equal respect.
Absolutely, 100%.
To where I did, and I know I just pick my battles, and I just usually try not to pick those battles because I know I'll lose in those situations where it's like a public forum where they're going to choose, all right, the guy who we, prototype is this versus anything else.
Yeah, no, absolutely, 100%. That's enough to do it.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on keeping the conversation going. Where have you always been pretty Democrat, pretty liberal your whole life and your whole family?
Oh God. So no, that's actually crazy. So I well, I guess on both sides of my family are very conservative.
Yeah.
I grew up in Oklahoma. The couple of years that I did live outside of Oklahoma before becoming an adult and moving to Virginia, I lived in very conservative states for almost 5 years. I lived in Georgia, and I'm talking like deep South Georgia, like McRae. Well, it's really China Hill, but nobody knows what the fuck that is. But so very, very, very conservative. Both sides of my family, actually, my mother's side and my biological side, very conservative. Conservative. My biological side of the family comes from a very strict Baptist background, so they're extra. And then my mom's side, my grandfather's a fucking pastor, like and a big one at that kind of a thing. So I definitely can say that I came from a very conservative and very Republican background. So I think growing up, I had a lot more of those values because it's easier to relate to those, when it's in your household and this is what you're being taught because, your parents are supposed to teach you right from wrong, so on and so forth. So of course, with that comes, they're going to teach you about whether they're religious or not, whether they're, conservative or not, if they're liberal, whatever. So I think when I kind of started to notice that, hey, this Republican shit ain't for me, was I think I was a teenager. I was kind of becoming, and I'll be able to explain that more when we get later on one of our topics, something that kind of really made me think like,
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I don't think that this is okay or that this is how I believe.
Yeah.
But I think that I forced myself to try to believe that way to gain acceptance from my family and from my peers where I grew up, because the schools that I went to were very, very small schools who all grew up with I grew up in the Bible Belt, for Christ's sake, so it was a very conservative upbringing. What was yours conservative? Did you have a Democratic background?
No, and I was a much later bloomer than you. I'll start from the beginning and more recent, and then recant back to how recent of a Republican I was.
Oh shit. Okay. Recent. Ooh,
Yeah.
recent. I'm scared. Okay. Wait, since I knew you recent? I mean, that's 6 years.
Kinda, but not really. Kinda.
What's
We're on 6 years here now. Okay, you got to remember the earlier that 2015 year. We met at the end of 2015, so it was
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, go on ahead. I'm gonna let you.
Yeah. But it was when I was still living in Houston, the beginning of 2015. My friend took me to a Bernie rally, and I was just like booing, hating Bernie while he's trying to get me in 2015. Yeah, you got to think that's 6 years ago. That's 6 years. A lot can happen in 6 years.
In 6 years, absolutely. I'm shook. I thought you were like a Bernie stan back then. This is crazy. Okay, okay.
No. And then we'll even, because I was even, but clearly since you said it was a teenager, but I was on the fence of the Trump Hillary claim because I used to identify then as a libertarian.
Okay.
And I didn't like the typical politician, that time that's what Hillary was claimed as, is the typical politician. And that was her framing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, Donald Trump's a businessman, and all the documentaries didn't come out about the realness. So I'm like, but yeah, I was for him till Grab Her by the Pussy. As soon as that came out, I'm like, no, he shouldn't be leading the country. Someone, in an interview speaking like that of women. And then it was just more and more. And then I really started to like, okay.
See more of what was. Isn't that something that you think is ironic? I feel like both sides, it's like the Republicans are like, just wait till it clicks with you in your head, and we're like, no, wait until it clicks with you in your head. And it's just a never ending divide.
Yeah. I was raised in a group home that was just Baptist children's home. Like I didn't go trick-or-treating until I was, I think, 15.
Yes.
So it was just, witchcraft was the devil, Harry Potter was the devil. That was my upbringing. Yeah. And the parents that adopted me when I was 11 were former missionaries. So I went from like a group home with like 50 people, a bunch of really religious, going to church like 3 days a week, to being adopted by former missionaries. And then we didn't, after we got older, didn't go to church as much, but yeah.
Yeah. Now that you say that, that's crazy as well. In my upbringing, almost every summer, I went to church camp. And like I said, my mother's father was a pastor. So we were always at his church. And it was always, tough too, in a fucked up way. Because, you're the pastor's granddaughter. So nobody wants to invite you to go do any of the fun things because you're like too much of a goody two shoes kind of thing. So that was really a weird time. My family, just like you said as well, couldn't do Harry Potter. That was witchcraft.
All right. Since your awakening, since you've been, I guess, woke, as they say, I hate like that everything's framed and has like a phrase, but
yeah, but that's what it is. It's the world
it is. Fuck them. Yeah. I just hate it because the whole thing about the conversation is it alienates. This isn't where I was going, but let's go there.
Okay.
We're talking about having a conversation and how that's the thing that's lost right now. And when we like Black Lives Matter, immediately, like we know it doesn't mean anything, but yes, Black people shouldn't be killed that are unarmed. That who cares if you just committed a crime, you do not deserve to be killed by someone who's supposed to be protecting and serving you. Like that's all that means.
Absolutely. We give you our money every single year, all of our taxes for you to fucking murder us.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, we pay your bills for you to return the favor by killing us.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Hey, passion, I love it. But it alienates then those people who immediately have the rival post, on Facebook, who is just like, you pro Black Lives Matters, I'm pro police. And that's the thing, like same thing with woke. They're like, well, you're woke, what am I? And that's why, and I hate that those words, like I'm like for them, fuck them now. But at the same time, I do want to create the conversation, and those type of things immediately, they're like trigger words for the opposite side. You know how like saying the F, like all my friends now, like, saying the F word towards gay people.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I hang out with them. They know I don't like them. So they may say it and then they immediately like, I'm sorry.
Like, yeah, backpedal real quick, please. Or actually, better yet, keep that same energy.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, keep going, because eventually it's going to catch on and you're eventually not going to take it out of your vocabulary. But like trigger words for us are offensive words, the N word, you know what I mean? Like trigger words for them are things that empower us. Like, You see what the difference in, so, but that's what I like those words, but they hurt creating that conversation because I feel like, yeah,
Because it's almost, instead of creating the conversation, it's another way to get slick and kind of take a stab
yeah,
at whether it be your thought process or how you believe or how you act or certain things like that. And people don't, you can't sit down and have a conversation with somebody while you're taking jabs at them, because who's going to take that conversation seriously?
yeah.
And now don't get me wrong, I'm all for it. I troll motherfuckers. There's certain people
I love it, yeah.
that I will troll, and I'm like, you are a fucking idiot. But there's certain people like that, to where, like I said, it goes back to you genuinely, it's like the blind, well, I don't want to say the blind leading the blind, because I know what the fuck I'm talking about, but you can't bring a horse to water. Like, you know what I'm saying? So you can't argue or try to educate somebody who is okay with being stuck in willful ignorance. And ignorance isn't a bad thing. It's not having knowledge of, right? But it's bad when you choose to not learn or to grow, because nobody wants to be around somebody who's like, oh, that's just how I am. No, that's not a good way of living your life, or being stuck in your ways and showing no growth. Like, why would you be proud of that? Why is it so hard for people to say, hey, you know what? I never thought about it like that. I was fucking wrong. I can see where you're coming from. But it's like it comes down to like a pride thing, or like, my dick's bigger than yours. And it's just like, I'll literally, there's so many people who throughout this last presidency, instead of just saying, oh, that's fucked up, I'm wrong, they would literally defend it. And it's like so many people would defend, like, people who were voting for him defended the whole grab him by the pussy, would get t-shirts that said it. And it was like this whole thing to be, oh, I'd let him grab me by the pussy. And it's like, do you even know what the fuck you're saying?
Yeah, that's the leader of the free world, the most, but like all the and he's setting an example for so many men out there that are not only affecting them, but then are going to be affecting women, but
The women.
affecting other men, then are going to have daughters and children, and it's just, there's such a ripple effect that even a 4-year stay in this country,
it's literally a never-ending cycle. And it's even more fucked up because they don't see what's wrong with it. They think I tried to have a conversation with somebody about this, because I'm like, even if you agree with the policies, that's cool. There's some of the policies that he put into place that I could get behind.
Some good policies.
But the fact that you're just like, oh, it's locker room talk. I'm like, okay, it's just locker room talk. And what if they're saying that about your daughter? And, any normal person would be like, oh, no, that's fucked up. Like, not about my baby. But these motherfuckers, if Trump grabbed my daughter by the pussy,
and then
that's okay. What? It infuriates me. I'm going to keep my composure today, but there's just certain things about it that just, and it's contradictory on both sides. There's things that I can see that the Democrats do that are hypocritical, liberal. I'd like to say that I'm more liberal than anything. I don't really go with either or party, but I do, if it comes down to if I'm voting Republican or Democrat. I mean, of course I go for whoever the best candidate is, but just in every election that I've been able to vote in, the candidate that I felt best suited was Democratic or liberal. But anyway.
Yeah, I wrote about how both these party systems are 200 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have so much more technology, so much it should be, but there's so much money invested. That's a different thing. And then to get to that, like, how do we not have more access to candidates? You know what I mean? Like, with all the TV, with all the Wi-Fi, with all of it, and then how people want to make voting harder, but we have that, like, shit like that makes no sense to me. Like, we're supposed to be proud of the voting, but we want to make it harder and more difficult.
They want to make it, if we want to get on some, not that I'm like a conspiracy theorist, because I don't even necessarily believe that this is a conspiracy, But that's what I was saying. What's so crazy to me about all of this is I don't necessarily think, if we're talking big picture, right? Yeah. I don't necessarily think it's a Republican thing. I don't think it's a Democratic thing. Yeah. I think that it's smoke and mirrors for the government to create a divide, which they successfully have done for over 200 years. Mm-hmm. So I think when it comes to big picture, a more broad spectrum, it doesn't have anything to do with political parties, I don't believe. I think it has to do with the government and somehow, some way, keeping us distracted from what the fuck is really going on, because it's really easy to keep us distracted with this, right? Like, I think in the sense as well, not only is it easy to keep us distracted between the political parties, but for instance, like you were referring to earlier, with Black Lives Matter, not that was a distraction, that's a very real thing, but you notice how, like you were saying, everybody else came out of the woodworks and it was, oh, well, Blue Lives Matter, and oh, save the children. Not that I'm against saving the children, I think that's a wonderful thing, but listen though, when have you heard about it since? I mean, don't get me wrong, I still share constantly stuff about Black Lives Matter, but as it's not in the media as much as it was last summer. When was the last time you heard somebody say Blue Lives Matter? When was the last time you saw people posting about Save Our Children? They don't give a fuck about it. It's literally just to deflect from something else. I don't know. I just feel like when it really comes down to it, it's just a lot more of the government versus right or left.
Yeah, and that's why I like that point, and that's what the work I want to go into is figuring out how. When I read about how Obama was a community organizer, and this, because we can affect change. We have to realize that collectively, like if you've seen when instances, if we group together, but that means we have to give a fuck. We have to use whatever voice we have, whatever to give it, whatever side it is, you know what I mean? Like we just have to give a fuck, because they're gonna suppress or oppress, whatever it is, what the government in general, Republican or Democrat, because they want the power. But we
exactly. I think that is the problem, because, and I think that's why, I know, allegedly, that why they create this divide, because if we really all paid attention and saw the bigger picture and the more broad spectrum, we would it's literally like V for Vendetta. We would take over that shit. Yeah. They could not control us at that point.
Whatever laws we wanted to pass would get the people in office that wanted that, and then if not, get them out. You know, we have it's as simple as that. Like, only put people in power that we want to get the stuff done that we, it's as simple as that. We just have to care more and put each person in each office that we have enough access to the internet, and we just need the government to be more willing to give us that access.
I think that's the problem too, when it comes down to it, is
since we were talking about getting woke, since you've been woke, and even more since the most recent woke movement, how many friends and family have you lost due to the woke movement? Phrase it like that.
Ironically, I don't believe, like, true friends, I haven't lost any. But there's something that I guess, for instance, friends that I would have had back in the day, like, I told you I grew up in a very small town. I graduated with 36 kids. Like, that's how small my high school was. Exactly. So it's kind of funny now because there's this guy that went to high school with me and some of middle school, I believe. I think we went to a little bit of middle school together. It's so funny seeing how they believe things, because everybody where I'm from likes to, they're very, very, very Republican, no ifs, ands, and buts are about it. So it's always funny because I like to, okay, for instance, the school that I went to school at for high school, you have your homecoming parades and shit like that, right? Listen to this. You are going to be baffled as fuck. Like, So you do your homecoming parade, freshmen have their float, sophomores have their, so on and so forth. Everybody has their float. So I graduated in 2014, but I still have a couple of people that I went to high school with. That's not even fucking legal. So then you see all these people that used to be my friends in high school that are sharing it like, oh, this is so great. I love that we can support our president. You do not bring religion and politics into school. I'm pretty sure that's illegal. I'm not sure. But anyway, so this guy that I went to high school with, he always posts like some dumb shit, agreeing with it, thinking, that they're super smart and that they have everything figured out. But it's like, they're not. Like, these are the same people that argue about how the president is the reason that the gas prices are high. Yeah. That's not. So I don't think I would consider it a loss. If I'm being completely real with you, I don't consider any of those friendships that I lost back then a loss, because I know of them have a lot of microaggressions, racial tendencies, and so on and so forth. So fuck them. Family. Wait, no, let's you.
No. You got the family. You like, ooh, the tea. Give me the family. It's about.
I mean, I guess you know about this. It just recently happened. I'm gonna take a drink for this, guys. I drink on our podcast on Sundays. Sunday Fun Day. I'm always lit. I'm always lit, but for this, maybe I should pour a shot.
It's like that.
I think it's getting hot in here.
Go get a shot. Bree needs a shot for this.
You think I need a shot for this?
I think she needs a shot for this.
Do you have a shot? I'll take one if you take one with me.
Fuck it. I gotta go downstairs and get my shot. All right.
Okay, y'all. We're gonna take a little quick pause, real quick. We're gonna go grab these shots, and then we'll come back with the story. We gotta take a little break. Right. No, is you taking a shot of Bacardi too?
Yep. Oh, you do a Bacardi?
Yeah, that's what I got. I got a bitch Bacardi shot though, but that's okay because we had a party from St. Patrick's Day, and the only other liquor that we have besides the Bacardi, it's pineapple, is Jameson and Jack Honey. And yeah. But anyway, let's take this shot so we can fucking get to the hard shit.
All right, cheers.
Woo.
Don't look at my face.
Ooh, yeah, don't look at wait, did you flinch more to me?
Nah, I just shake a little bit. I get a little chill. We'll see the footage.
Okay. Whew, okay. Now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and get to the rough stuff.
Give me the family tea.
So let me, I guess a little bit of background before we get to it. When I said that I grew up in a very conservative family, I think I told you a minute ago how it was like Harry Potter's witchcraft, like, which is weird to me because they would always tell me that was witchcraft, but then you could watch Cinderella and it's all bippity boppity boo, and what the fuck is that?
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a different story. So anyway, my biological father, very conservative, and I hate to say it, but I have to be real, I have to be vulnerable, and I have to be transparent, and there's no other way to say it. Is racist. Is a very racist man. I remember growing up, him talking and saying that if I ever brought a black man home, that he would ask me not to come home again. He lived up to that. So a couple of months ago, I thought things started to get better. And the reason that I say this is anytime that anybody hears me saying my dad, for the most part, I'm more than likely talking about my stepfather. That's who, because a dad to me is someone who is a dad who's there for you, who supports you, who, you can go to and, go to for advice, who's a comfort, who's a supporter. And I always had a very special relationship with my stepfather, who's a wonderful black man. So, at first it was, my dad was my biological was kind of weird about that. But then, it seemed after a few years that, he really likes my dad.
Yeah.
The reason that I say all this is because I started to kind of feel better. I've been in a relationship with my boyfriend, who is a wonderful Black man as well, for going on 5 years now. I never brought him home.
Yeah.
Because I had a really shitty relationship with my biological dad for a multitude of reasons, which we can talk about more later. But so anyway, this year I kind of got the courage, and Tone and I are getting very serious. We hope to be engaged this year, and a bunch of other shit. So I'm like, okay, now's the time for me to just see what's going to happen, because this is preparing for my future, right? Because like, if something goes left with this, then let's say I bring a child into this world, I'm not subjecting my child to this bullshit. So we went. I flew back.
Both
The
of
first
you?
house, yes, both of us went. Sean and I both went. The first house that we went to was my biological dad's mother. And everything went good. Like, we were all, we were chilling, my auntie and uncle, we're all talking, we're having a good time. Everything feels good. Everybody felt very accepting. So in that moment, I felt comfortable enough to say, okay, after we go here, we'll go back to my biological, because we had a tradition that after we go to my grandmother's in the morning, we would go to his house to like watch Christmas movies, eat junk food, all that stuff before going to our other grandparents for Christmas dinner and like shit like that.
Yeah.
So, sorry. So I was very on edge about that, but we went. So we get back to my biologicals. It's just us, and just so I can set the scene so you understand how quickly we had to leave and what it transpired to. I was supposed to be baking some sugar cookies. I was going to decorate them with my younger siblings after I left there, because we were going to go to my grandparents, and that was going to be our thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even finish mixing the cookies and get them on the tray before he told me to leave and never come back. He started saying a bunch of things that were hurtful and offensive, kind of joking about how, you're lucky I'm not as racist as I was 10 years ago, because I would have cut your ears off. Like that's something that's funny. And then, immediately had to try to debunk the whole Black Lives Matter thing. And it's I'm all lives matter kind of guy. And it was very uncomfortable. He kept reiterating how, he basically wanted to hurt him. So finally I got sick of hearing it. And this is very Republican man. He's very like those diehard like people you see, is very much how he was always the one to always want to talk about bombing Indian people and just like Muslim people, and how just a bunch of racist shit constantly. And I never felt that way. And it's hard growing up, because you want to be accepted by your own parent, but it got really bad. And so finally I was like, hey, kind of chill out. But he still kept making these jokes, and this is what solidified it for me. And I knew that I wasn't crazy, because for a long time he made it out to everybody that I was crazy because of my drug addiction and so on. And it was easy to make it out to be like, I was the liar and not him. He's very manipulative. But my little brother was in there, who never agrees with me at all. And even he was like, this is fucked up. Like, what is going on? So finally, I had a very hard time trying to take that as a teaching moment. I don't regret that, but I think the problem was that like, I made Tone take the car keys and go outside. I was like, I don't want to, you've been subjected to enough. Go outside. Let me handle this and just wait for me. So long story short, all I could get out was, do you know how hurtful this is? Like, I have to go. I can't stay here with him. That's very disrespectful. That's very hurtful. If this is how you believe, what are you going to be preaching to my future children? What are you saying about my younger sisters who are two beautiful, beautiful little Black girls?
Yeah.
And I couldn't shake that. And so he told me that if I left, not to come back. And
the second time,
no,
because he said the first time if you bring one, and then he actually.
But that was when I was younger. I think I was probably like in 6th grade. And since, my other family members were like, just kind of give it a chance, see how he goes. He seems to be getting better, and kind of made me feel a little more comfortable. But then it was also just kind of a solidifying moment for me. It was really, I think I was hurtful, but it was hurtful, but all in all, it worked out for the best because, like I said, I wanted to take that as a teaching moment, but I couldn't get the words out. All I could say was, do you know how hurtful this is? That's very hurtful. He's not going to say nothing to you, but I will. And maybe it's not even bothering him as much as it's bothering me, but that's just not going to fly with me. And the fact that you felt okay enough to be like, hey, okay, if you feel that way, don't come back, then I was never really wrong about your racist tendencies, and you haven't changed. You've just manipulated everybody and put on a front, because it didn't even blow up. I wasn't even disrespectful. I was just like, listen, we got to go. Kind of like one of those things where we're going to have to talk about this later, but this isn't acceptable, because I wanted to take it as a teaching moment. But I want to say, unfortunately, it didn't get to that, but no, fortunately, it didn't get to that. So some people would consider it a loss. I consider it a gain. I don't, if you feel comfortable, and mind you, this is the first time he's meeting this man.
Yeah.
So if you feel comfortable enough to be like that the first time that you're meeting somebody, you think I'm gonna let you babysit my future kids?
Oh my. Oh, I would, no, I'd be horrified.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry that was a really long kind of thing, but that's what it was. So since I've separated myself from him, a lot of his side of the family, I don't really, I still talk to some of them, like my cousin Maddie. I just talked to my aunt yesterday, but they're very open-minded, very chill people. Not to say that a lot of the people on that side of the family aren't. But it's hard after, your biological father disowned you to want to go back to events and go and have to be there with him. So it's just almost kind of like having to separate yourself from all of it. So I can't risk it.
I completely understand.
So, but yeah, that's really, I guess you could say, again, the biggest loss that I've experienced due to different political beliefs. We always argued about, little things, whether and it's not little, it's a big thing, but we always argued about, whether or not gay people should be married. And I think that's kind of when I started to realize that I wasn't Republican, was around when I was 14, 15 years old. Him just talking about how like they all needed to die and like all this other crazy shit. Yeah, this is what I was subjected to growing up.
And I'm like, and you're younger, so then 14, that's like 2008, right? That's how
that's how they get into your head though when you're younger. I feel like that's when so many people in the Bible Belt it's fear mongering, because if you don't believe this way, you're going to hell. They take politics in with it to twist it into their beliefs, and to the point to where you're so scared that you submit because you don't even want to fathom having to go out like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think that you're disappointing God or like a bunch of other shit. It's just another way to make you feel guilty. And I didn't agree. That's just my experience from where I was from, that I don't agree with. I feel like they like to merge the two.
Yeah. No. Okay. We'll skip on. We'll leave my conversation with the family for a later podcast to really deep dive, because for a whole background. No, I want to move forward. I really want to get talking on the backwards.
Okay.
I really
feel
want to.
bad because I feel like I took up your time.
No, there's no time. We can go as long as we want. I just want to move on to this. Yeah. I don't know how they can't separate church and state. With that, it's like written in the Constitution, but they would choose to put their, Christian and political beliefs. But then at the same time, they shame Muslims and Buddhists, and they're not open to any other. Yet we're founded on freedom of religion.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They don't want to hear any of that, because when you try to bring that to their attention, one, they don't care about the Constitution because it's not in the Bible. The Constitution isn't how that. No, but for real.
What are you talking about? Their guns? We're not taking what it is with their guns. It is when we're talking freedom of speech.
No, but I mean in the sense of how they lead their life, the morals the principles that they base their life off of, right? So they do believe in the Constitution for certain things, because in the Bible it's written, where it's you obey the laws of the land.
Yeah.
So they don't want to hear any of that unless, again, it conforms to what they believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then they don't want to hear they want to shame people for being Muslim, Satanist, Buddhist, so on and so forth, because even on the monies, it's written one nation under God.
Yeah.
But the first rule of being here, like you said, is the freedom to express your religion. That's why a lot of people want to come here, for a multitude of reasons. But you're supposed to be able to freely do that. But I feel like a lot of them, if it's not Republican or falling in line with their beliefs, that's not America. Then why the fuck is it written freedom of religion, rule number motherfucking 1?
I was just thinking this. I forgot, like, when I'm super, invested in going to church all the time, like, number one rule in everyone, they're like priorities, God. They're like God, family, blah, blah, blah. But God was always number one. So if you're supposed to have separation of church and state, you can never have God number one if you have separation. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. Like, in their mind, separation of church and state cannot happen because God is number one. Like, it's God, you know what I mean? That's number one. Yeah.
But that's the problem, is that they don't realize that you can't push your religion onto other people. Not everybody believes the same way that you do.
Yeah.
And it's going to piss me off if you try to push that onto me when I'm living in a free country, to where that I shouldn't have to. But
how do we have then that conversation with someone who puts God first? Because that's what the guy I talked to, he says he separates the two. So, and I'm like, he's a Christian, and he's not the demographic we're trying to appeal to.
I actually have a perfect example of somebody who I believe considers to separate them. Actually, my parents, my mom and my dad, they're Christian people. They have very conservative values. And maybe that's somebody that maybe we should talk to one day. I think, like, my dad is an awesome fucking person to talk to, because sometimes he votes Democrat, sometimes he votes Republican. He has more libertarian values with the conservative undertones. So he votes for what's realistic, right? Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or what he feels.
Love that. Yeah, I try to do that too.
Or who's the best, right? Yeah. So it's not necessarily about being Republican or Democratic. So I love that. I feel like they're a very true example, because they hold their morals and their values to a good standard, but they also understand the reality of what the fuck's going on. But I feel like other people, unfortunately, it's not so much. It's because they can't. Yes, God is supposed to be number one. If you're supposed to live through him, for him, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
But you also have to understand, there's not everybody is going to feel that way, and you just can't force that onto other people. That's not fair. And I don't understand how they think that is fair.
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's why I would love to, with them, if they do have that voting mentality, because I didn't ask him that question, but he said he doesn't put his values on other people. And I would love to just speak from them. They're older, been through a little more, and ask them just more their take on it, just to give me a different point of view. Because, yeah, it seriously is like, how do you, but at the same time, we're talking about more the ass backwards people. And because parents probably accept Muslims and Buddhists and is Muslim is this but just
They love everybody,
yeah,
which
they
is
love
how
every
you're
yeah.
supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to have a loving and open heart for
Yeah.
all of your brothers and sisters, regardless.
But I mean, I grew up thinking all these other, I mean, if you're Baptist, I don't know if you know about strict Southern Baptists, but we grow up thinking,
That's how I grew up.
oh, everyone else is bad, even Protestants, Catholics, because Catholics love Mary. So they're going to hell because they love Mary. Like Southern Baptists believe everybody else is wrong except Southern Baptists, even Christians. Yeah.
You want to hear something? I can't make this shit up.
Let's give the listeners a
When you said this, okay, so like I said, I grew up, my grandfather's a pastor, and he's, I guess you could say, evangelistic, I guess is more so what they were, because he traveled
missionary type, like spreading the word. Yes, that's the invention.
So his favorite line.
Here we go.
No, I have to tell you this, and then I'll let you move on. But his favorite line when we used to be in service was, "And when you're sick, you're gonna call the doctor and not the doctor's mother." Because Catholics, they pray to Mary, who's God's mother. But if you were in a situation to where you needed to be healed, you're gonna call on God and not God's mother. That's
taking a jab at Catholics. That's what
yes.
like. It's just like you're the same. You fighting the same battle here.
Y'all damn near basically have the same core values for the most part.
Even the Nation of Islam it's a month that has a single God, and then they have the Prophet Muhammad, who's Jesus. Like it's literally the same. They pray to Allah. It's God. That's what, if you watch the show Rami, I tell everyone, Rami made me really like. Muslims are just like Christians. They just, are Middle Eastern. Yeah, like it's literally the exact same thing. And they just and I appreciate their religion and like Buddha, because they take shit more seriously. Christians be like, you can murder people. This dude stole people, killed people, and then was on the cross next to Jesus Christ and just repented 2 seconds going to heaven.
Well, these are also the same people whose pastor are touching their son and they let it go because he's a man of God. Yeah, so
that's what I mean. Yeah. So
real shit.
We don't got to go down the rabbit hole. Let's actually stick on the topic of the ass backwards, and they can't have the conversation. And abortion.
So,
let's get on or wait, you were talking about gay marriage. I think that's what.
Yeah, that's what I was
talking about. That's what I lost my train of thought. You were talking about gay marriage, and I want to talk about they hate people that don't want to get married, or I'm phrasing that wrong. They think for some
out of wedlock, like if you're having sex or living together or something like that, that's not right, right? Was that what you were saying?
No, but I do want to tell you, I am so ashamed of still that, like, I do still have that mentality because of my upbringing, which I'm training, but it's like, I still think like a family is married.
I don't think anything's wrong with that.
Yeah.
I just think, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I feel like I do. Like, I think there's something wrong with that mentality. Like, I wish I didn't have that mentality.
No, I don't think anything's wrong with it. I think, growing up, how we were raised, that is what's considered a family when you're a joined union. But it doesn't, to each their own. Some people don't. Some people believe it's just a piece of paper, and that it's, because it really is. It's what you put into your relationship. So I would prefer to be married to have a family. So I can get behind that, but I also understand that doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
But so back to the LGBTQ though. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was like, yeah. Let's not get on a different thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know a lot of people this day and age who are super against gay marriage. A lot of people now, do you know a lot of people against? I know more people who are against like the they, them, and the genders now. That's the now movement. Do you know a lot of people who are against gay marriage?
I think back where I'm from, now I live in, Richmond, Virginia. I feel like everybody's very open, very, from what I've experienced and the people that I've had the honor of meeting, growing friendships with, so on and so forth. I feel like over here it's a lot more advanced, of course, versus Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So here, widely accepted by everybody I know. Now, do I still know some people that are against gay marriage? Of course. Like back, unfortunately, where I'm from, even though it's legalized, you know, certain family members, certain friends who still never get out of or don't get to experience life outside of that, so they do think it's a bad thing. Yeah, I know quite a few people who now, but some people would love to say I don't agree with it, but if that's what you're gonna do, that's cool.
I hate that line.
I don't have to agree with it, but I'm just like, yeah. So I know quite a few. Do you?
I feel like not anymore. Mainly because obviously in getting older, and I didn't grow in like the same town and meet a lot of the same people, but no, that's what I say. I feel a lot of the stuff I get from friends, or not like personal friends, just people that follow me or I follow, social media, stuff like that, is more with the genders. They're more thrown off from accepting that or unable to
Being
accept that.
trans. Mm-hmm.
Well, not even trans, because maybe there may be more understanding of trans than understanding why. I guess trans, yes.
Well, it is because you're transitioning, right? I know some people refer to themselves, which I think that would be awesome, to actually maybe have a conversation with somebody about this using
Oh yeah,
different
that's what.
pronouns.
Yeah.
Because I would like to learn more about that. Unfortunately, I'm not that educated in that subject. And I would love to be informed on it so I can be more respecting to the, you know, and understanding to the community. We can all stand together, you know?
Yeah.
But I do know a lot of people that I see, like you said, on social media that throw shit fits. For instance, I actually had a conversation with somebody the other day about a man who had transitioned to become a woman who had won a women's sporting event.
Yeah.
And it became like a whole huge topic of should she even have gained that title? And I see a lot of uproar about that.
I know, and I admit that is a controversial situation that I need education about. Because how if someone who does have the hormones of a man competing in a female sport, and then you know, and same thing with the opposite way, you're getting different hormones induced and taking stuff so you can transition, and even the age of transition, those things, like I'm not knowledgeable enough to know that if someone at 12, 13 is able, because that's when I was shadowing at the psychiatry practice, there's people at 13 going through transition and taking hormones and stuff. And yeah,
it kind of makes you wonder if that's one of those things, like, because, you know, when you're younger, for the most part, you know, like if you like boys or girls.
Yeah.
Or not. So it kind of like makes you wonder if you can know at 3 or 4 that you're a boy and you like boys.
Yeah.
Maybe you did, but I see a lot of people from the right who are I feel like they have a lot of issues with just understanding what human rights are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean to say that to be harsh and that everybody from the right isn't woke or doesn't know.
The reason the right is white, because human rights have always been given to the white, to where.
But yes, absolutely right. But when you think about it, not only just in that aspect, 100%, but for instance, like in the LGBTQ community, it doesn't matter if you're black or white. They just don't want it. It's a disgrace to them.
Yeah.
So some things, yeah, but it's like in other certain situations, or how they get upset, how you and I would be outraged when we see that there's children in cages and the living conditions that they're in, and then you have these people saying that they deserved it because they crossed the border to create a better life for their family. Yeah. Do you know how long? I don't think they understand truly how long the process is to become a citizen and the living conditions there, because let's be real, all you white motherfuckers, when you're going to Mexico and shit like that, you're staying on resorts.
Yeah.
You don't see the constant murder, the raping of women, the kidnapping of children. There's reasons that these people are fleeing and coming here. It's not because they want to be pieces of shit who just hop a border and think that they should just take everything. Then they blame people who are leaving for taking their jobs because they work harder and get paid less.
Yeah.
I never understood that either. My father had an interesting argument. He's like, well, what about, where we're going to place everybody? The housing market's fucking ridiculous right now.
Yeah.
So, but I always felt like that was the ass backwards belief as well. When they're shaming people, you're okay with going to vacation in these countries and live your best life. But when these people want to come over to protect their family and provide their family a better life, a better education, better chances, more opportunities, you're mad at that? You want them to die?
Yeah, that's the modern version of it. What about the same thing? Why they like to say under God, the same. That's the modern day. They're hating that we're vacationing and spending all this money there. But what about our principles? Every Republican likes to talk about our principles, how we were founded. We were founded by a melting pot of a bunch of different people fleeing and, coming to this country and making it one.
Literally.
We erased the whole, massacring a whole race of people. And we just, we don't need to go and touch on that because we all don't know too much about that. Like, yes, that happened. It's horrible. But everything else about America was founded on the principles and ideas of inclusion and acceptance of anyone who was fleeing freedom.
Your individuality as well, too. Fleeing for your freedom, being able to come over here and not have to fear if you're going to be murdered because you're praying a different prayer. Than the country that you're living in, or fleeing the country because you know that these people are going to break into your house and rape your children. It's a lot of fucked up ideologies, and then instead of wanting to help these people, they get more angry, and it's, well, I can't find a job because of these motherfuckers crossing. But you realize that the government has a whole plate of cookies, right? They're giving you a cookie and sitting you in front of an immigrant telling you that he's trying to take your cookie. Can you paint that picture? But really, and people, no, but for real, and they buy it.
They do.
They like to deflect the blame
on
anybody other than themselves.
That's
it's so much easier to say an immigrant is taking my job versus, goddamn, I'm a lazy piece of shit.
I don't want to get too sidetracked on that, but that's the same relation to like now being back in the service industry and the people I'm working with, and they may see and I'm like, yeah, I just work these 3 days and I'll bust my ass those days so I can create and do the things I want to in these days. And they're just like, well, I want to, but this, and I want to, but that. I'm like, and I'm just like, I've been there where I had an excuse and made every excuse and used the job as this and because you just want to deflect the blame, why you're not doing this, or you're not achieving these things just because you're just lazy or don't want to put in the work. Like a guy who doesn't speak English from another country, who doesn't look like the manager, who doesn't have kids that look like the man, he has a better chance than you. No, you're just not putting in the work.
Exactly. Like, you're going to argue with me that they have a better chance than you. And I believe, forgive me because I'm not trying to sound harsh, racist, or be weird, but some of these people can't even make it through the fucking interview because they haven't learned English yet. And you're telling me that your chances are that much harder for somebody who can barely speak an English
No,
sentence.
we're just being honest. It's not those are stating facts by saying you're going to lose your job from someone who can barely speak English. They're coming from Guatemala, from different countries, Ecuador, and they're fleeing persecution and being gangs and they can speak broken English, and you're afraid that whatever job that is seeking you the pursuit of happiness in America is going to get robbed by that person.
That's not only is it going to get robbed by that person, but not only can they speak a full sentence of English, but they're wanting $5 an hour when you're wanting 17.
Because they will work.
Who's going to work harder?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know who's going to work harder. Which, not to say that, there aren't white people who work very hard, but I feel like the people who are complaining the most about that, not to say that they're not hard workers, but there's something not right there if you can't comprehend why it's easier to employ them. They're going to bust their ass and they're going to do it for a 14th of the wage.
Yeah.
Mm.
But this all relates to, like, yes, they don't want to accept their human rights, but once again, they want their guns. The only thing we can get them to be passionate about is their guns. And even my friend Hunter was like, man, did you hear they might come in, if you have guns, the police can come into your house maybe with that new law Biden's doing. I'm like, no, like one,
They've
like,
been saying that literally. I'm not even exaggerating, Danell. They've been saying this since I was. I remember my biological father showing me videos of when Australia was taking their guns, and they're like, "Oh, if Obama gets this is what's going to happen to us." I literally got into an argument with my boss about this the other day. I'm like, you guys have been saying that we're going to take your guns for fucking years just because we want better restrictions to end fucking, I don't know, school shootings? Like, what?
What scenario is a machine gun ever, like, I get it, it might be cool to have, like, you might look like a big dick dude, like you had but what scenario ever in a civilian situation is a machine gun an automatic, right? When is that needed? This isn't Call of Duty.
I get kind of, because I believe in gun rights. I don't think that's an issue. I would love to carry. I don't think you do either. But something that's an argument that I've kind of had. So I spoke with my boss, and he kind of, I can understand more so what he's saying. And what he was talking about, he's like, for me personally, it's not about, oh, I'm going to walk into the store with a AR-15 strapped across my fucking back. It's more so, this is my hobby. It's what I enjoy doing. So I would like to have this gun because I like to go out to a shooting range and, soup it up, something that it's my hobby, right? So I can respect that. But what I can't respect is the fucking white man in Oklahoma City when they passed or he was trying to show his pay. I don't fucking know what he was doing, but he went to, what's that chicken spot? It's like open until like 4 a.m. in Oklahoma City. They drizzle honey all over the fried chicken. It's a truck. Fuck. I forgot what it's called. It's the best chicken in Oklahoma City, bro. Anyway, it's black owned.
Oh, are you talking about Ishins?
No, that's outside of Oklahoma City. This is actually in Oklahoma City. Kind of, I think if I remember correctly, it's kind of over by Northwest 23rd-ish area. I'll have to ask Sierra. But
that chicken's honey biscuit chick, is that place? No, not that place. No.
I'll really have to ask. But long story short, this is this bomb chicken truck. It's open till like 4 o'clock in the mornings on the weekends, and it's black owned. Why do you feel the need as a white man to go to a black owned place with the AR-15 strapped to your back, 2 pistols on your hip? And I think he had like another gun strapped, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. I know he had 2 pistols and an AR-15 strapped across his back. Then he went from there into Twin Peaks. I get that you're trying to make a statement, but at that point, nobody feels safe. Nobody feels comfortable. There's too many crazy people. Why the fuck would you think that that's showing your patriotism? Because you can show how many guns you can strap to your back. Fuck that. That I can't get behind. And when I tried to argue with my boss, he's like, what does it matter? You can't argue because it's legal. And I'm like, I mean, you're not wrong.
But I got arrested for having shake weed in my car. Fuck,
man. But a white man can go around strapped the fuck up in certain situations, and it's all peaches and cream.
The way you were describing that, I was like, I remember when I was serving at TGI Fridays, I was like, and it was a Monday morning lunch shift. And I think one of my guests, he had a handgun, concealed carry. And I was just like, it got me a little scared because I'm just like, why do you need a gun in TGI Fridays lunch shift?
What?
Yeah, like that's I'm like what? Like,
because I get it. Like, there's like my boss, for instance, he has a gun on him at all times. I didn't know that until he told me the other day. He literally did like a full 360. He's like, do you see anything? Do you see anything? And I'm like, no. He's like, then what's the problem? I'm like, that's not a problem. You're not using it for intimidation purposes.
Like,
You're using it in case something goes down and you have to pull that shit out and shoot. Other people, when you're out flashing it like that,
it scares.
It won't bother me as much if you have a pistol on your hip.
I mean, it's more like we're in a restaurant, like what scenario? It's more like what's the need? Like what's going on in your life that you need to bring that in? Yeah.
They'll create any and every scenario to have a reason to publicly display their gun. I know because I have heard it. I've heard some dumb shit as to why, and it's unfortunate because they can point to situations like, for instance, why would you carry a gun in a church? But then they'll bring up the issue in Texas, how there was a shooting in a church, and I could have saved the day. Most of you motherfuckers are running out. You're not pulling your gun.
Yeah, you're gonna just stand in front, yeah. But that's what I mean. They want their rights on full display, but any type of flamboyancy from any other side
is not okay.
Is not okay. That's
I don't understand that. Again, I'm all for gun rights. I just believe that we need some stricter laws because there shouldn't be a reason that we're having, hundreds and thousands of kids losing their lives just for showing up to get an education.
Yeah.
And then they want to paint a picture because the vast majority of the pictures are by white men about, oh, well, he was so abused. He didn't get love and attention. Oh, well, what about all these fucking Black communities? They're not going up and shooting up the fucking school.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, they talk about how they only have the single parent home and that's what they're going. That's why they're committing all these kind of blah, blah, blah. But then the second the white guy from the 2-parent home who just maybe dad worked too much and neglected him, and chose all these different activities, yada, yada, yada. There's always an excuse, but that's why a lot of people, I like comedians who joke about why the LGBT community, especially like trans movement was more accepted because white men are involved.
Okay.
And like, it's like a joke, but kind of serious at the same time. And that's kind of like this, like when the same thing with all the shooters, like the reason why it's swept under the rug, because it's a lot of white men.
And they paint a picture to make you feel more sympathy and empathy for them. But when it's a Black man, when it's a Hispanic man, when it's, these are dirty people, they're raping our women, they're selling drugs, they're this, that, and the other. And that really bothers me too. It also really bothered me during the Black Lives Matter movement when a lot of people, there was a little white boy who was murdered. I forget his name. It's very tragic.
Oh, I remember, by some Black dude who was scared.
Yeah. And so they got mad and they were posting all over social media. Why aren't you talking about this? Because he got justice handed to him on a silver fucking platter. That dude is arrested like the next fucking day. Don't try to take away from our hurt and our pain and what we're preaching by somebody who immediately got justice, because the people that we've lost have received no justice. They're still not receiving justice.
I remember that. I was like, oh, and then I was like, oh, he was arrested. Like, why are y'all mad?
I need another shot for this, yo. I'm pouring the fuck up. You finna take.
I mean, I can't let you do it alone. I can't let you go in alone.
All right. See, that's my motherfucking. This is why I fuck with you, Darnell. JD, whoever the fuck you are. Ew, my life is ugly.
It's JD to the new ones. It's Darnell to the old ones.
I'm like, I could call you both, but I've known you for a minute, and that's how I know you. But cheers.
Face was a lot better that time.
It went down a lot smoother. Okay, so that's a lot of the that was another thing just to kind of touch base on while we were on the backwards ideology. I know I just told the story, but isn't that crazy how, let's say, for instance, I told you about that float at my school.
Yeah.
I'll even send you pictures after this where they were okay with showing, you know, they had this whole girl dressed up as Hillary Clinton with handcuffs, another boy who literally had like orange shit on his face to make him look like Trump. Okay. And they think it's okay. But could you imagine if somebody were to dress up as Obama and or Biden and do the same thing? Like, they would not be okay with that. So how is it okay for you to even bring that into a school situation in the first place? I don't understand that either. It's okay to have your political beliefs, but that's not somewhere to, because kids are mean.
Yeah.
They hear mom and dad saying something, and especially with the gay community, I feel like it's so hard growing up where we grew up in those areas, being a gay man or woman, because these people ostracize you and they think it's okay because that's their core beliefs. It's okay to treat you like garbage because
this book
how you're living is wrong.
Yeah, just everything about who you are, and it's all who you love. That's why I'm like, I don't care who you love, who you fuck. And I want to definitely go into more, we can maybe do it together separate, in the whole coming out thing. I think our generation, who needs to come out? Who cares about who you're fucking? I can go tomorrow and fuck, you know, a dude tomorrow. Doesn't mean I'm gay. I tried fucking a dude. Like, who, you know what I mean? Like, it's just who you fuck. Maybe I do like that guy. Maybe I never like a guy after that. Just, you know what I mean? Like, everyone just wants to define everyone and box them and categorize,
and it's fucked up. I think one of my things, if I ever, you know, do have a family, is, let's say I have a daughter. She likes women. I don't want it to have to be this whole, let's sit down, take mom to dinner, explain to her that, you know, I like women, and it be this whole huge thing. No, baby, I want you to, if you like women, say, mom, I'm coming home with my significant other, and that be it. I want it to be just as if you're bringing home a boyfriend. What the fuck do it matter? Are you happy? Are they good to you? Do you feel like you're expressing yourself the way that you need to be? Who gives? Why does it have to be this whole extravagant thing? Because a lot of people's parents can't accept it.
Yeah.
They can't. I think that's my biggest fear, is that if I have kids, that they're going to feel like that's not okay. Something that I love about my boss's girlfriend, she's a therapist.
Awesome.
And she has a gay son, but just like you said, putting people in boxes, they don't allow that in her home. So it's not, I'm straight, I'm gay, I'm bisexual. It's just you're you. You like who you like, and we're not going to define you, because when you put people in a box and you define them, you don't really give them the opportunity to live to their full potential.
Love it. And I was waiting. You said that. I was just like, it doesn't really show their full story because then I have this problem, because that's why I fell in love with studying psychology, is because like it gives me a generalization, because then I can categorize someone and then I can understand them. But I just like to have a very, basis knowledge of them. So I'm like, all right, this is where you're coming from. And that's why I like to generalize and categorize. I don't think it defines you. It just helps me give a simple understanding of who you are. And then I want to get to know you further.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, though. I think you should have a generalization of who you're around, because if you can't generalize somebody, once you kind of know more about them, you can't say whether they're a good or bad person, or whether somebody that you should keep your company around or not. So I don't necessarily think generalizing is a bad thing, but like you said, it is a bad thing if you keep them in that thing, because you'll never see what they could be.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a general idea. Yeah, you want to know who you're around. That's not a problem. You know how to respect them, be courteous towards them, so on and so forth. But it's just when you don't allow them to grow outside of that, that's not cool.
Yeah. All right. The most main ass backwards, I think, political policy thing is being so against abortion because it's your religious belief, but then not pro-life in terms of paying for the life and paying for, because so against government assistance. But why are you making this woman who maybe, even if she is 25, but maybe she's uninsured and doesn't have money we should pay for all her medical bills then. You pay for that baby's everything for the rest of its life.
Well, they care about the child until they grow up and they're gay. They care about the child until they grow up and they're a Black man or a Black woman.
Mhm.
They care about the child until, they're born, but they're born in a home with a drug addict mother and father who sell them. And all these people who are preaching about don't abort a baby won't fucking adopt one.
Yeah.
This is something that infuriates me because a lot of these people think, I have a friend, the biggest heart, just the most kind person. She deserves the world. Okay. She has a son. She had, unfortunately, so many complications due to that. If she gets pregnant again, it will kill her. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And they're trying to make it illegal to where if my homegirl gets pregnant, even if it's on an accident, because you can take all the precaution, birth control, condoms, everything else, and still end up with a child. And you're trying to give her no opportunity to, that's between a woman and her doctor.
Yeah.
Because if you can't carry that child to term and you know that they're harming them, you're harming yourself, you're going to hemorrhage and a bunch of other stuff, that's too much on your body. And you have to make that medical decision with your doctor.
What decision?
Whether or not you can, like, she can't carry another child. If she were to get pregnant again, she would have to get an abortion because it would cause her to hemorrhage out. If I remember correctly, I could be saying it wrong, but there's something crazy that would happen if she were to get pregnant again, but she wants more kids.
Yeah.
But you can't put yourself in that situation. So, and then, for instance, they passed the law to where you can get a late term abortion, but they passed that because these women who are needing late term abortions are essentially women who have stillborn children. Yeah. If you have a miscarriage, that's technically an abortion. That's your body rejecting the baby. And all these people are bitching and griping and moaning about it. Oh, but they wouldn't even go and take care of that child. So you don't even know what living this situation this child is going into. They could be raped. They could be sold. They could be abused. And you don't care as long as they make it into the world.
As long as they're born, that's all that matters to you, because it's God's will. Whatever happens to them is God's will.
Exactly. So that's what I don't understand. How are you so gung-ho about don't abort these children, but again, if they're gay, if they're Black, if they're remotely different, you don't give a fuck about them kids. So what is it that you're okay? Just because, and if you don't want one, baby, don't get one. All the dudes who don't like it, get a goddamn vasectomy. Okay?
Yeah.
Like,
wear a condom, motherfucker. Like, you know.
And how is you a man worried about what the fuck I got going on? Now I understand if maybe you're a man who wants a child, right? Get a bitch pregnant who wants a fucking baby.
That's what I try to use it. Like, I don't want to use the whole like chastity bubble, but I'm like, how about this? If you're so big on that, why are you having sex with people who you don't want to have a kid with if you hold procreation as such a high standard? Like, you're doing an act that leads to this, but you don't think you should keep it special then if you only think every consequence of that act can lead to a baby every single time?
They don't care because you're getting your dick wet. That's fun, right? Like, I mean, not even to be blatant, but it's just like, it baffles the fuck out of me. It's like, no, and don't get me wrong, I'm not judging.
Yeah,
listen, we all got to go through a whole phase. You know what I'm saying? I'm not judging. Know what the fuck you're sticking your dick in. If you have that belief to the point to where you think somebody that you're possibly fucking would even think about doing that.
No, I have current friends this stage that are, you know, in their mid-20s who think abortion is wrong. And I brought up then, because it kind of drifted, but I was saying, then don't be having sex with people who you don't want to have a baby with. If you are just like, if we have a baby, like, I'm not letting her get an abortion. Like, I will be like he's just like, I'm mad and these people are mad if that happens. Then I'm saying, then why are you having sex with her if y'all don't, you know? I just think you need to make that decision. If it's such a high standard for you, then you need to change your ways about what sex is. Sex isn't then for pleasure.
And I don't think that that's like an unreasonable point. I think that's very fair because you point that out, right? But these are also the same people that are arguing that if you don't want an abortion, you shouldn't be having sex. But what it really comes down to is, listen, let's hypothetically speaking, okay, let's talk for a minute. You get me pregnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't get pregnant again for 9 months.
Yeah.
You can impregnate how many people? So when it comes down to it, birth control was never really meant for women.
No.
It should have never been meant for women.
Sure.
I can only get pregnant one time in 9 months, but you can have multiple pregnancies. You could have hundreds.
My sexuality course really educated me on that. And the reason it will never change is because back when all the money was invested in birth control on so many millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on women, they've done the same to men, and the side effects are the same. And so they're just going to keep it for women. Like to where, yeah.
Because we can deal with not even trying to whatever, but when it comes to certain things, we can deal with that. Our bodies are more equipped,
and the consequence is greater. I can just
I risk going barren.
Yeah.
But real shit, you're forcing these medications upon women to not become pregnant because they don't want to be pregnant in that moment.
Yeah.
But I had a fucking friend who I believe they had it's like the little plastic one that they put inside you that lasts for I think it's Breeana for 5 years, right? Yeah. Right. So she had one of these that tore her fucking uterine lining. The depot shots, everything else, the depot shot, I read something the other day that was really interesting about how that was created to basically, and granted, this is alleged, I don't know a lot about it, but that caused Black women infertility. It was targeted for that when it originally started. So it's just crazy to me that people, I understand having those values and maybe you don't want an abortion for yourself, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's when you push it onto other people, and especially being a man,
that's, I always say, we shouldn't have a vote. How about 50% of the population sits out, let them vote, then we can comment with our opinions and takes on the outcome. I'm cool with that. But we shouldn't have a vote.
Well, the voting system is shot. Remember this.
Yeah, we know.
So you can't vote anymore because it's all fake.
Yeah.
So fake news. Trump won by a landslide.
Oh yeah.
Fake news.
Coming back 2024 for a third term, because technically he's still.
Fuck, you mean second term? You said
no third. No, because technically he still is president. Yeah, he's technically
not Biden's president.
Not from the Trump fans. No, he won.
Oh!
I'm saying he won. He won.
I'm sorry. For a second, I thought you were being logical. Sorry, I couldn't keep up.
Cool. Sorry, sarcasm didn't go through Zoom. My bad.
Sorry, didn't quite reach.
Yeah. She was really fighting, and she's like, "No, Biden won. No, Biden won."
Talking about what reality is you living in? Is this an alternate universe? Is we in Rick and Morty? There's that would be.
What am I tripping on? What am I tripping on?
That might be a good topic to talk about one day. Alternate universes and realities.
Oh yeah.
Shit. So what? You want to take one more shot with me? You got any more points?
All right, we back. We doing the third shot, presented by Bacardi, clearly, because we sucking down some Bacardi here.
Gang.
Shots on the podcast presented by Bacardi.
This is our Sunday. Yes. Thank you, Bacardi, for not paying us to promote you.
We want you to, though. We want you to. We give us your money, Bacardi. All right.
Yes. Call us, at us. We here. We on Twitter. We on Instagram.
Give me the IG, Snap, TikTok.
All that.
Yeah,
all that.
Whatever you want. You can reach me. Call me, beep me. Kim Possible.
Should Cardi B sponsor us too?
Please, Cardi.
She used to be Bacardi.
Yes. I'm trying to be careful with me, Cardi. Be careful with me. I did bash you on our Grammy pod, but I still love you, girl.
We still love you though. Yeah, you're still my favorite. I don't. Let me take this shot.
Yeah, let's take this shot. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
Salute. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Do you not have a chaser? Is that why you have a weird face every time?
I'm chasing it with beer. She's like,
Oh, okay. It's not orange juice.
I can do the shot, but the face is gonna come out. It's just there.
So all in all, I guess, what did you learn from this? You really got to sit down and have a conversation with somebody and kind of understand more about their thought process and policies, who we're all going to hear. So I guess what's your final thought after you've had the opportunity to maybe learn something and have this conversation?
Yeah, I learned mainly because this is definitely the work I do want to get into too further, but we all share the same ideals on policies. Like we all have the same goals. Doesn't matter whether we identify Republican, Democrat. The goal is just how do we, because we're never going to get rid of the parties. The parties have billions of dollars invested, but how do we show just each other that we're the same and we have the same goal? And maybe even then promote candidates that don't fall into those lines, that more are into our ideals and our morals. You see what I'm saying?
That's so interesting that you say that. Just as a final touch, that's something that I'd like to just kind of elaborate on. Yeah. It's so frustrating that living here, we pick the lesser evil for our candidate. Why can't it be so difficult? Because we can't make a decision because they're both just that damn good.
Yeah.
I wish that was something that we had more of the opportunity for here, to just, instead of it being like, damn, like you're the lesser of two evils, I guess I'll go with you. I hope that we can become a country one day to where it's like, damn, I'm having a hard time deciding because you guys both want to move and progress and,
Two
move
different
forward.
That are awesome way, because the next 4 years could go this way, which is a really good look, or this way, but either way, I'm excited for whichever one wins.
Exactly. I hope that one day that it can come to that. But for now, unfortunately, this is our reality. And all we can do is roll with it, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Do our part, vote, speak, continue to hold our rallies for justice, so on and so forth. And fortunately, that's all we can do.
Yeah. Keep being you, Bree. That's what we need out here. That's what we need.
Keep being you, the fuck.
All right. That's another episode. We wrapping up. Thank Bree. We got about a month out before A Modern Woman podcast debuts.
We're pushing about a month. Hopefully, we'll have a more concrete date for you guys, I believe, in about a week. It all just kind of depends on, we had some real life shit kind of happen just this past week. So we've agreed on a date. So far, that's, what sounds like it's what we're going to continue to do. I hope that date is the date, but we'll know more in about a week or two. I can't fucking wait. I'm
excited.
Me fucking too, man.
All right. Remember, we're presented to you by the Modern Podcast Network. Till next week. We'll see what we get into next week. Thanks, Bree.
Thank you.